So, with fresh tears and an ending that you can be content with, it's a fictional fantasy anime with enough details within it to give itself a world of its own. So today we're going to talk about Somali and the forest spirit, or Somali to Mori no Kami-sama. To begin with, we have the dynamic of the two main characters. The first one's a creature called Golem, which is depicted in this narrative at least as the guardian spirit of the forest, and counter to the mother nature archetype that we usually get to see, it's a paternal figure, so that's cool. And the second character is a human being, and that's a child, it's Somali. So she's like a ball of innocence who is cheerful and happy most of the time. She is adventurous and as curious as a human can possibly get. She loves ice creams and sweets, and she's a child with no real parents, and she calls our golem creature her Otosan. So the story starts off with a take on their father-daughter relationship that they seem to have in a strange place. And that's the second thing to remember. So the premise, the strange place in which these mythical and magical creatures seem to be existing, is what's gonna set the storyline to some extent. So we have most of it being dominant by the chaos of nature and the LSD trip, the visuals that you get to see across different landscapes that they have. And that's the beautiful animation as far as that goes. But for the storyline, along with that, you get to see a little hint of social order, which is human-like. It looks like a medieval period trading system that these creatures seem to have occupied to earn their livelihoods or something. But yeah, that's as far as it goes, and that's setting up the premise a little bit here, because in this strange world, humans are already close to extinction, and that has a lot of backstory to it, but it's mostly due to social and political conflict, which I won't exactly spoil for you. But yeah. Now, our two main lead characters are on a journey to find Somali's parents and anything about humans, if possible, in general, which at the beginning of the show, Somali has not conceptualized well, because she doesn't understand as to what it would mean for her journey to come to an end, because remember, she already thinks of Golem as her father. Their journey usually consists of finding shelter and food, and all of this is with Somali's approval, of course. So further we get to see different character arcs where we have these characters with a somewhat similar dynamic to what the main characters are which kind of further strengthens what the main plot is about. Now, by the time you get into the first couple of episodes, and even when the story starts off, you get the feeling that Mr. Golem would have already learned how to take care of a child, as he's doing so much already. But instead you get to see him struggle, trying to instill habits and long-term goals in Somali. And that's kind of when you realize that the reason that Somali is growing so attached to Mr. Golem is because she gets to see her Otosan in action, trying to take care of her in all the different given situations that she is in. And then she generalizes that as an emotional attitude towards him, which Golem, on the other hand, does not seem to be doing. Well, he does everything with a rational basis of necessity and requirement to it. However, over time you do get to see him self-contemplating and trying to learn the correct behavior by watching others. And he is definitely trying to understand the inefficiencies of a human being, which in this case it's Somali. So rest of the story explores Somali coming to an understanding of what this journey is actually really about, and some witches, bookkeepers, and additional characters with their backstories, and what the history of this world is like from each of their perspective. So overall, they kind of ended on a beautiful note. Now, during this arc is when they actually bring forth the main intent of the show. Now, to talk about which, I would have to definitely spoil a lot of things here. So you can drop the video at this point and go watch the show if you want to, because that would be better. And yeah, I will not be reading the show. To sum things up, you can definitely vibe with the animation and the music. The studio's done an appropriately beautiful job to keep the adventure fantasy theme going. Now, alright, so straight up spoilers as to what the show is actually really about, so you can stop watching it at this point if you don't want to be spoiled, or if you do, that's definitely fine, I really don't care. The premise is mainly actually about the coexistence of different and diverse kinds of creatures living together in a mythological fantasy place. And for the most part of it, all these beautiful chaotic forms of life seem to be able to pull it off pretty easily. But the only exception to that has obviously been the human beings in the past. And that makes sense, because as an idea, you can compare it to the metaphorical reference as to how we generally suck at coexisting with animals and other life forms around us. But keeping it limited to the fictional narrative here, we get to see the humans in their utmost tribal nature and purging in the face of anything new and different. And that's kind of how we generally are. So as a result of all the social conflict, humans are almost extinct in this world now. natural selection at its best. Now, Golem has been the closest advisory of human beings in the backstory of the anime at least. Originally, they're coming from a Jewish folktale which refers to it as an inanimate life created by humans. So something like a Frankenstein, it means to be incomplete. And it's the closest thing to a human-like figure even in the anime, but to make it clear, in the anime at least, it's not a human creation by any means. So our Golem specifically is the guardian spirit of the forest, who gives up his collective identity to gain the characteristics of an individual to see more of Somali's smile. That's literally the reason, and honestly, I'm pretty okay with it because Somali is like the best depiction of an ideal with the most beautiful characteristics of a human that one can have. And honestly, part of it is because of the fact that she's a child and we become ignorant and corrupt and less open to things as we grow up. But Somali is still not only the most lively and cheerful and the person filled with the most amount of potential as a human being in her. As the story progresses further and the characters grow, they start to indicate a direct message here, which is that in the context of the storyline at least, amidst where humans are almost near extinction, Somali is the living proof of the fact that the coexistence between the humans and these mythical creatures and magical beings is possible. Or you can say that the relationship between humans and the land of fantasy and imagination is possible, however you want to say it. But well, those were my thoughts on the show, and I definitely do recommend the anime to anyone who has the time or any sense to watch a simple yet beautiful fictional story. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it if you have seen it already. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, that's okay. And yeah, take care. Pain Vanisher. And Nox here. There's a lot of cat fur on my face because of her throughout this. Yeah.